Radar Report. My name is Daniel Vallis and welcome to our channel. Here is the radar view from Jerusalem sunset on the 25th. Jupiter is drawing close to Zavijava and Venus is also quickly coming up behind too as well. Mercury is in the same general area and the Sun is slowly getting closer to as well, still pointing directly at Leo. There is an incredible tapestry coming together right now. And here is one way to help you visualize the choreography that's been going on in the heavens. I'm just going to show you a few slides from this video. This video is from Earth Sky, and I'll leave a link in the description box where you can watch the full thing. But if we just start on the 17th of August and take a look at where Jupiter is, you're going to need your spectacles for this one. The highlighted dot on Jupiter, but then also Venus is drawing closer to Jupiter. They're going to be intersecting. Jupiter and Venus, that is where the star Bethlehem conjunction is going to be. So they're going to be drawing closer to that cross point, and this is on the 17th, and you can see Mercury is just past the cross point too. It's been coming up into the scene, but it's getting ready to drop off the scene too as well, because its main job as the messenger is done. So we advance to the 18th, and you can see they're drawing closer, the 19th, the 20th, and jumping ahead to the 27th, Jupiter and Venus meet at the crossroads right there. And by then, Mercury is off the scene, visually, in the night sky. And then let's jump ahead to September 1st, and Jupiter's almost to the horizon. It's not going to be hardly seen at all. And then by the 2nd of September, which is also the expected sighting of the new moon, Jupiter is going to be right at the horizon. Very hard to spot, but this is going to be the last day that you're going to see it for a while. This last visible point is called the omega point. So Jupiter's omega point is on September 2nd. It's going to be hard to spot on that day because it's going to be so close to the horizon and so close to the sun's glare too as well. But it should catch our attention that on the same day that the expected new moon sighting is going to be, which will start 5777 and the Feast of Trumpets, that same day Jupiter is effectively stepping off the scene. The fulfillment of the Shiloh prophecy will happen before this point. And it's interesting looking at how its visibility continues for a few days past the star Bethlehem point, so that its visibility is strong at the star Bethlehem point. But after that day, it's going to start quickly fading off the scene as it gets into the sunset glare. So we need to keep this different choreography in mind. Jupiter and Venus are coming together, but Jupiter is getting ready to exit the stage almost immediately right after that. The symbolism that we've been looking at with the scepter and all the other things that has rehearsed up to this point, it's about to end in just a few days. So we know this star Bethlehem is very important because the visibility will be good then, but it's going to be gone after a few days after that, right at the beginning of the new year. So keep all this choreography in mind, and if you get a chance, definitely check out the link to the video that shows this full rehearsal. And just going through it one more time, the 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th, 27th, and 1st, and the 2nd. Now their video shows the whole thing. Now I've updated the Heavens Declare document. It's in our Google Drive, and I just wanted to point a few things out to you. Between now and the middle of the 27th for Central Standard Time, we should still continue to watch. There are some unknown variables on the 26th. We've looked at the Babylonian perspective, which is very important because the Bible even makes mention that the wise men were from the east, and that gives us the idea and clue of what astronomical perspective were they using. And plus it also clues us in and confirms what was the predominant astronomical view at that time in the Middle East largely too as well. So we are taking this into consideration with Zavijava, which is the B star there in Virgo, but from the Babylonians, they considered that the hind boundary of Leo the lion too. That's where the rear foot of the lion ended. So Zavijava is both with Virgo and with Leo. But also notice how the border at the front of the lion is different than our modern day concept too as well. It's a little closer. So I did make a note on the timeline that between the 15th and 16th would be when the sun would enter Leo's constellation based on the Babylonian borders. And that's just really an FYI. The same announcement and symbolism would still be there too, either there or at the modern border crossing. Still the same thing, behold the bridegroom cometh, the picture of the bridegroom coming out of his chamber. And we should be making ourselves ready to go out to meet him. And the important crux of everything right now is the Star of Bethlehem date. And that's at 22:31 GMT time or 6:31 p.m. EDT time. That's the max peak of the celestial sign. That's when they'll be the closest together. And for me in Central Standard Time, that's going to be halfway through my day when Jerusalem is seeing it. That's how the timeline is laid out. Their blue day, the 24th, is going to be starting at sunset, which is when you will see the Star of Bethlehem, but that's going to be around my lunchtime. It's going to be different for your time zone, so consider the GMT time. And we looked at this before of how on the 26th, Jupiter will be technically entering between Zavijava and another star that is in Virgo. It will be between those 2 points, and so one could make an argument that it is in the stars of Virgo by our modern understanding. But when we consider that Zavijava by the Babylonian astronomy is considered the rear foot of the lion, then you could also make a pretty strong argument that it's not really coming between two stars of Virgo, even though it is kind of shared, so it's a gray area. But because we can also definitively state that Zavijava is the rear foot of the lion by Babylonian astronomy, we do have a strong case for saying it is not between stars of Virgo necessarily, and maybe not entering into Virgo on that date. And we can also say that as long as it's in the feet, then it would follow that it hasn't reached the border yet. So I'm still going to continue looking completely up through the 26th if need be, because you can argue either way. And it's not till the 27th that Jupiter starts getting directly over Zavijava along the ecliptic. But when they are closest, it's going to be right before that point. Their closest point will be at 22:31 GMT time, which is going to be a hair right in front of Zavijava. So technically, their meeting place will be taking place right before passing the star that marks the rear foot of the lion. By a mere technicality, though. Your eye probably will not see it unless you're looking at it with the telescope. But it's very short-lived, because just about 5 or 6 hours after that, Jupiter will definitely be on the other side of Zavijava along the ecliptic, by Jerusalem's perspective. So with all the time zones, go by the GMT time if you want to be absolute certain. I'm going to watch up until I know for sure that they have passed Zavijava. And we can't really say otherwise until we know for sure it has passed that point time, which will be about 5-6 hours after their closest meeting point. But because Zavijava is the border marker, and even just visually, it's the marker along the ecliptic between Virgo and Leo, and the prophecy does deal with the gathering will take place before it exits, before the scepter departs, we have to expect the gathering to take place before that mark, and that mark represents the border, and so it represents the change in chambers. So the symbolic door is around there too as well. And we must not overlook the incredible importance of a third star of Bethlehem. And this is a super close one too as well. The different astronomy sites are all telling people to go look at it, and you won't be able to miss it if you're out looking toward the horizon on that day and you have clear conditions too as well. It's going to be a significant event. And the fact that it lands to the day of the border between Leo, which is Judah, which represents the lion of the tribe of Judah, and on the other side of this border is the Virgin. You have a picture right where these two constellations meet, right at the border, right at the boundary of a beautiful picture of the bridegroom, who is the lion of the tribe of Judah, meeting up with his wise virgin. A beautiful picture that takes place right here at this gap, so to speak, the meeting between the Alpha and the Omega portion of this celestial story. And because we know the scepter will not depart until the gathering takes place, the gathering will take place in the Omega portion of the story while the clock is still pointing at Leo. We don't know how close it will get, though, to that border. But it should arrest our attention, no matter what your prophetic views are, and everyone has different views, I understand that. But it should catch our attention that God is planting a significant, very rare Star of Bethlehem reminder right on the border. I mean, it's not a day before or a day after. It's right on the border. That should catch your attention. It's caught mine. It's an incredible picture of the bridegroom meeting up with his wise virgins, the lion of the tribe of Judah, gathering his beloved right in the month of Elul on harvest, and A beautiful picture coming together right now. We have a amazing sign in heaven, a third Star of Bethlehem. You know, last year there were two, and in the biblical account of the first time there were only two. So that should catch our attention that there is a third one now in the message. And in the first set of Star Bethlehems, remember the second Star Bethlehem showed and indicated that the king was already there. So a third Star of Bethlehem would indicate that he has returned again. He has already returned again. So some incredible symbolism and celestial signs going on right now that cannot be dismissed or overlooked. We will continue to watch until we know for sure that the scepter has passed Zavijava. But with everything we've seen so far, we have seen so much pointing us to right now, our attention is drawn to right now. And on September 2nd is the expected sighting of the new moon. And at the sighting of the new moon, that would also mark what many consider the end of the Jubilee year and the start of the next year. So it's very interesting that that is just a few days after, with some other possible prophetic events happening between now and then, and the Star of Bethlehem and then too as well. And it's also marking the Omega point, when the scepter is slipping below the horizon for the last time for a while. The scepter story is exiting stage right before the new year starts. And that should catch our attention, that we need to be looking to right now. Now this Omega point on September 2nd is for the northern hemisphere. It will be a little later in the southern hemisphere, but considering from Jerusalem's perspective in the northern hemisphere, September 2nd is going to be the Omega point for Jupiter. And when we look on Earth sky, they talk about how the moon and Jupiter will be visible on September 2nd, but only for 30 to 40 minutes after sunset. So you know pretty well what hour to look for on that day. Of course, if it's not sighted within that time, then obviously the next day is automatically the Feast of Trumpets. You'll have a pretty good idea within that hour on that day. But this is the last time that Jupiter will be seen above the horizon for the mid-northern latitudes. And you can check this in Stellarium too as well from a Jerusalem perspective. We see some amazing pictures rehearsed over the past few months and over the past year even, drawing our attention, weaving a tapestry of redemption, a beautiful choreography, all leading up to the finale, right where we are right now, and the stars are about to shine, pointing directly to the expected conclusion. We have so much drawing our attention to the now that this is where our attention should be, and not distracted with months and weeks and years ahead. Our attention has been drawn to the now. We have a significant, rare celestial event landing almost to the hour of the day, pointing the high end of the time frame of the Shiloh prophecy. A beautiful picture of the Lion of the tribe of Judah entering his chamber with his wise virgins. If you're new to our channel, definitely download our Shiloh booklet. It's in our Google Drive that talks a lot about what we're looking at right now and have been looking at. You know, it was Paul's expectation that the rapture was the gathering together of Christ's flock, those who put their faith and trust in him. Paul understood what the gathering was. It's not just a spiritual thing. When you look at the Genesis 49 passage, all those blessings aren't spiritual. They're physical, manifested blessings. And Paul understood this very well. And remember, Paul's the one who preached to the synagogues. He preached to the Jews that Jesus Christ, the Messiah, Shiloh, was the fulfillment of prophecy. The Bible tells us this is what Paul did. He fully understood the Shiloh prophecy. And he fully understood that the gathering had not taken place yet. It had started in the spiritual realm, but he knew there would be a physical aspect, a physical gathering of the flock of God to him. When we think back to the road to Emmaus, when Jesus was walking with the two disciples, and he went through Scripture and showed them that he was the fulfillment of prophecy, the Bible even tells us where he started at. He started in the books of Moses, which was Genesis. He started at the very first page, which was the Garden of Eden prophecy, which was all about the serpent and the woman and the coming Redeemer and the head and the heel. This is where Jesus started when he explained that he was the fulfillment of prophecy. He went back to how there was going to be a promised Redeemer. And then later, of course, in the same book of Genesis is the Shiloh prophecy, the coming Redeemer, the coming Messiah. That's who Shiloh was. This Shiloh prophecy is what Jesus rehearsed for his disciples that he was the fulfillment of. And Paul fully understood it, that yes, it had been started, but the gathering had not taken place. We talk about this in the Shiloh booklet too, as well as this is our expectation. This was Paul's expectation. We are waiting for the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ, and by our gathering together unto him, when he redeems and when he picks up the purchased possession. And Jesus Christ himself told us, and when these things begin to come to pass, the different prophetic things he outlined, then look up. Look up. You will see a sign. Lift up your heads. Look up, and you will see that your redemption draweth nigh. Your redemption is not there yet, but you will see a sign that your redemption, your pickup, is drawing nigh and drawing closer. You'll be able to see a celestial countdown telling you that your redemption draweth nigh. It's not going to be something that happens within just a few 30 to 40 minutes on one day. It's not going to be even a sign that is clothed with the sun that you can't even see. No, you're going to be able to look up. You're going to be able to look into the sky, and you're going to be able to see the celestial story that tells you your redemption, your Redeemer, is drawing nigh, closer and closer, and that he is nigh even at the doors. You will not know the day or hour, but you will be able to tell that he is drawing nigh. And we see the beautiful story of redemption rehearsed, the tapestry, the different choreography of all the celestial actors that we've seen coming together to a conclusion. We know there is an end to this play, to this rehearsal. And like Christ says, you will see that your redemption is drawing nigh. You will see that there is a countdown going on. Just like the wise virgins, they did not know exactly when the bridegroom was coming, but they were told ahead of time when to expect him. And so they got dressed and ready, and they had a very good idea of the deadline that the bridegroom was coming. Likewise, us. We see that our redemption draweth nigh, and so we are waiting wisely, shining bright, with great expectation. We will continue to watch throughout the extent of the application of the prophetic constraints that are given to us and that we understand. And on the horizon, we see a third star of Bethlehem, a beautiful picture of the bridegroom meeting up with his bride. That is our expectation. That is what we see approaching. So, as we see that day approaching, which may fall up any time between now and then, let us provoke one another to love and to good works, and so much the more as we see the day approaching. Definitely download the material, rehearse it, study it, and ask the Lord for wisdom of what you should be doing in your life right now. Behold, the bridegroom cometh. Go ye out to meet him. Serve Christ first and highest above all else. Maranatha.